Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Rebellious Wellness Lifestyle. Today, my guest, Jon Paul Crimi.
Correct. Yeah.
He is a breathwork pioneer and expert. And for those of you who don't know what breathwork is, I'm going to let you, Jon, tell people what breathwork is. Then I'm going to tell them about you and how you arrived here.
Perfect. So that's a great place to start because breathwork is an umbrella term. It's like saying fitness, right? When someone says, "Oh, I teach breathwork," you're like, "Okay." It's like saying, "I teach fitness." What do you do? Do you do yoga? Do you do CrossFit? Do you do what type of fitness do you do? Because there's so many different types of breathwork out there now. I teach a very specific style called circular breathwork or conscious connected breathing. And it's not a relaxing meditation, which is some people think it's going to be this relaxing thing. It's
Not
more like a
relaxing,
workout.
people. I saw his class, not
Yeah.
relaxing.
It's more like a workout, right?
Yeah.
But I tell you how to do it. I do a demonstration and then you lay on the floor, you lay flat and you breathe for 30 minutes in this intense way that I show you. And some people will say, that seems like a lot of work. And I'm like, maybe, but to clear out your stress, your anxiety, your generational trauma, 30 minutes of laying on the floor breathing is totally worth it. And I always like to say you've done something tougher in your life than lay on the floor and breathe. Come on, let's go.
It's true. It's just so funny. We come into the world breathing. Hopefully, they start us breathing if we're not doing it on our own. And the idea of having to learn how to breathe in such a way that clears out trauma or stress, or learning yogic breathing, all these things, there's definitely a huge benefit, but at first it may seem odd, is what I'm getting, to learn how to breathe in different ways. And as you have said, somewhere on your things that I've been reading about you, none of us really breathe the way we should to begin with, as deeply into the abdomen. Most of us are shallow breathers. And what does that do?
The reason a lot of people are breathing shallow is because when you start to breathe deep down into the belly, into your abdomen or your, oh my God, I'm losing the thing right there. The diaphragm, thank
Yeah,
you.
there you go.
Diaphragm, a lot of your emotions are stored down there. And
Mm.
people are not wanting to feel emotions. People are walking around with grief, with anxiety, with all these unprocessed emotions. And they don't want to feel them. I think it was Freud that said unexpressed emotions will always come forth in uglier ways. And so it comes out in different ways. That's where if someone's telling you're overreacting all the time, that's unprocessed emotion that you're
Yeah.
not that you haven't dealt with. And so people are breathing really shallow up in their chest and they're holding their breath all the time. You have a breathing pattern for stress, for anxiety, for depression, for grief. And I like to say, and if you can change that breathing pattern when you're feeling that emotion, you can actually feel and process the emotion and then change your life. So I say, change your breath, change the emotion, change your life.
That would be a gift for some of us.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about how you got here. As I promised people, you're not just a breath worker. You actually have quite a bit of notoriety in this area, but you were not always on the top of your game. And you came to breath work circuitously, as we mostly come to things that help us in life, hopefully. So why don't you tell people about your journey? Where did you start?
I started in Boston, Massachusetts, and then I moved to Los Angeles when I was 23 to become an actor. And I got alopecia, which is hair loss. I lost all my hair. And then I switched to becoming a screenwriter. But in the process of the alopecia, I got addicted to painkillers. I was getting cortisone shots in my eyebrows and in my head, and I would take some painkillers before I go get those shots, and then I started eating them every day. I was also on prednisone, which some people know is a catabolic steroid, right? It breaks down muscle tissue. And I was working in Gold's Gym in Venice at the time. So
I know that, Jim.
I'm taking fat steroids in the gym where everybody else is taking anabolic steroids to build
Right.
their muscle. And so it was a really difficult time in my life, and my self-esteem and self-worth was wrapped up in my looks, which were stripped away. And I bottomed out from drugs and alcohol. And I got sober at 26, 27 years old and quickly started helping other people in sobriety because I found that was the key to sobriety, was to help somebody else. Once you got the sobriety, was to pass it on. And I was really good at it. And I got pulled into the world of sober companion, sober coaching work. So I started working with a lot of musicians, rock stars, traveling with bands on the road, trying to keep those guys sober, which is an impossible feat. And then actors working on movie sets and TV shows and just different people. And then I had a company where I had other people going out and doing this for me for a number of years. And I discovered breathwork 15 years ago and back in 2012, and it was life-changing for me. I actually discovered it through the actor Matthew Perry, who was a dear friend of mine. And he bought me a session with a guy that I thought was ridiculous, but I was the only friend of his that was open-minded enough to try it. And he wanted me to experience so we could talk about it. And I went and did this breathing with this guy. It's a different type of breath work than what I teach. And it was incredible. It was life-changing. So I went down a rabbit hole of what else is out there? What other breathwork things are out there? Why don't people know about this? This is mind-blowing. And people saw a change in me. People were like, dude, you're so different. You're happy. You're present. Are you medicated all of a sudden? What's happening?
No
My
more
friends,
sober coach.
yeah, my friends, my clients. And I said, I'm doing this breathing thing. They're like, what is it? Show me. And so I started teaching other people, and they were having these big experiences. And I had a kind of an epiphany, which was, why doesn't everyone know about this? And I had this epiphany, which was, it's been kept in these like small new age woo-woo circles.
Definitely, yeah.
And if somebody taught it in a way, I had just met Tony Robbins and done his seminar. If someone taught it in a Tony Robbins style way, or if I just was myself up there being East Coast edgy and funny and put some science in there, explain the science of what's happening in the breath work, not just the woo-woo, and I actually played cool music, that they'd probably have hundreds, maybe thousands of people in the room, because this is incredible. It really helps people, because everything out there is transformational, but so few things actually are.
Right.
And this thing does, in one session, the most common statement after my classes is, holy shit, that felt like 20 years of therapy without saying a word. And I heard this over and over from people, so much so that I started putting it on my advertising. And I started advertising, and I started teaching it and putting it on my social media accounts. And nobody had done that before. And then I started teaching it online long before COVID, because I knew it would work online. And so I pioneered online breath work. I was the first guy to start doing this online. And then I had courses online, and I started training other people 9 years ago to spread it even more in my method, in my style of breath work.
Do you have to hire New Yorkers to do it in your style? East
I
Coasters,
love
East Coast, because you're an East Coast guy.
No, that's the funny thing. You would think it would be people just like me, but it's not. It's some of the woo-woo people come, and that's fine. They just appreciate my approach, my style, and all different walks of life. I'd say my audience is mostly women. 35 to 85 is my grouping. That's when you look at all my demographics on my stuff. And I have some guys. What happens, this is the funny thing. So I look around the room, it's 70% women, 30% guys. And some women will come up to me after class and be like, my husband would never do this, but I'm going to make him come do this with you because you're a guy and it'll work for him. And then like the next class, I see the husband just sitting in the audience like, I can't believe she dragged me to this shit. And then afterwards he comes up to me and he's, man, I can't believe my wife made me come to this, but that was incredible. That was life-changing. Can I give you a hug? And I said, sure. And they'll hug me in the lobby and start crying on me in the middle of the lobby, because men often have all this stuff pent up inside of them. Women are much better at expressing their emotions with their friends or therapist or whoever, but men are not. We're taught to keep it inside, right? Especially the older generations. Younger generations, they can't shut up about their emotions, but the older generations, it's be a man, don't talk about it, walk it off, right? So those are the guys that have these big releases in my classes, and it's like the more you don't deal with it, the more feelings you have, the more stuff you push down, the bigger the experience in the class.
So what am I getting wrong about breath work? Am I avoiding something, Jon? When I say I'm like, yeah, breath work is fine. I've done it. It's good.
Yeah, your excuses only sound good to you, Gregory Ann.
Okay.
I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. Yeah, listen, some people don't want to go there. They're not willing to go there until something happens in their life and they're like desperate. And that's really normal, really common, where they lose somebody close to them, or they've got crippling anxiety or grief or depression, whatever. And then they're like, all right, fine, I'll try the breath work. The pain is the touchstone to growth, especially to spiritual
growth. Of course, as a coach, I know, like when people finally say enough, then they're ready to take the next step.
That's right. And so I find that with breath work, I find that with getting sober and recovery, right? People need to have a lot of pain or internal or external conflict before they're willing to go, all right, I'll go to this stupid ball guys class and lay on the floor and breathe, even though I think it's ridiculous. I'm going to go and try it. And you have to have a little bit of an open mind to show up. Everybody thinks they have an open mind, especially closed-minded people. I've never met anyone who thinks have you ever met anyone that says they're closed-minded?
Yeah, no.
No, they all think they're open. And then you're
Right.
like, come try this breath work. And they're like, no, I'm good.
I'm
I've
good.
tried breath work before. They did box breathing or they did whatever, 357 method or something like that. You haven't tried this. And it's hard for people to wrap their brain around it because something I've been doing my whole life since I was born unconsciously. I'm going to come to your class and you're going to show me a different way to do it. And that's going to clear out my generational trauma. That I can't even you can't process that. You can't wrap your brain around it until it happens. But most people after my class are like, "Oh my God," they're just stunned. And the results are immediate and undeniable. It's not like some of these practices out there. You're like, I think something happened.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. It's if you come and you lay down and you breathe full on the way I show you, you're going to have an experience. It's different for everybody. It's different every time you do it. So you could do my Sunday class on Zoom live. I do it 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern. And then you could do the replay the next day or the day after that. There's a 5-day replay. It's literally the same class and yet have a different experience from the same class.
Why does breath work?
I believe that it's our way to process stuck emotion. When a rabbit gets chased in the jungle out there by a fox and almost gets killed, afterwards it shakes to process that trauma of
Mm.
almost getting killed. What's our way to process trauma? We're breathing into our
Drinking.
simple. We have two ways of breathing. You can breathe parasympathetic through your nose, which is rest and digest, right? Or you can breathe sympathetic, which is fight or flight. And that's usually where the trauma comes in, or freeze, right? Something happens, an assault of some type, and we freeze. And so I believe we're breathing into that sympathetic nervous system in a safe space to help clear and heal the stuff that we've accumulated over our lifetimes. And I say this in my classes, some of your stuff isn't even your stuff. Science has proven that trauma is passed on generationally.
Yeah.
So you thought you were screwed up because of your parents, and you were right, it is their fault.
And you say, don't call your parents.
Yeah, don't call your parents though. Don't call any exes either.
Oh, dialing with, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Do sober people do that? No, I'm sure they don't. It's usually when people have had a few cocktails. I just want to talk to my ex.
Yeah. No, everyone does it. Everyone gets lonely and then they want to pick up the phone, right? And they think that's the cure. And then they go through the cycle again and regret it and all that stuff. The interesting thing about breathwork is I've actually seen quite a few relationships end as a result of it because the hard truth is that the only reason we ever let anyone treat us poorly is because we feel like we deserve it, either
Absolutely.
consciously or unconsciously, right? And so when you start doing this breath work, you start taking good care of yourself. You start loving yourself. It really is a process to learn how to love yourself. You hear that all the time. I got to learn how to love, you got to learn how to love yourself. How do I do that? Laying on the floor, doing this hard and comfortable work is a form of self-love. And afterwards, you can start to feel that self-love. You can start to be kinder, more gentle, more loving to yourself. And you start to realize, like, you know what, this person isn't really showing up for me the way they should be showing up for me. They're not loving me the way I want to be loved. And once you start loving you in that way, you won't put up with other people not doing the same.
You have, you sent a few questions, and I'm curious about one. You talked about celebrities. Why is celebrity not all that it's cracked up to be? Having had a lot of experience with celebs.
Yeah, it's a really challenging life once you get past that point and everyone knows who you are because you don't know who your real friends are anymore and
Mm,
you don't know who you can trust. You don't know who wants to be with you because they genuinely like you or they're trying to get something out of it. And so they don't know who to trust. So they get very isolated or they only want to hang around with other celebrities. And then fame and celebrity in itself becomes an addiction. It
I bet.
becomes a hit. I think people are experiencing it slightly now with social media where they get the likes or they get the comments, right? Imagine that on a scale 100,000 times bigger. That's what celebrity feels like. And once you start to go out of that spotlight, they just try to find a way back in. But
Mm.
also you have no privacy and you're constantly criticized and
I was thinking
under
about the
under a
criticism.
microscope. I
It,
had friends that like my friend Matthew couldn't go to the supermarket because people would film what he was putting in his shopping cart.
it's so crazy what people will do to
Oh,
people. Yeah,
I
it's,
have so
and look
many
how it
horror
ended, right?
stories.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a very sad story.
yeah.
So the other thing I want to know is so let's say somebody's at that point where they're just, I'm done with this relationship, this way of eating, this way of drinking, whatever it is. What is the first step that somebody can implement? Is it a breathwork class? Do they have to make a commitment, a transformation in some other way first?
No, you could, the simple step is you could come to a breathwork class with me. I do it Sunday mornings, and the first class is $19. It's a cheap, and I like to say I would do it for free, but then people wouldn't do it.
No,
Because
exactly.
if you don't have any skin in the game, right? Like Tony Robbins says, if you don't pay, you don't pay attention. And so I've learned that people often don't do it if it's free. But something simple like that, but oftentimes getting some help along the way, like asking for help in whatever area it is you're struggling with, whether it's food or alcohol or some type of area that you're struggling with, getting somebody who's been where you are and has come out the other side of that tunnel and knows how to get there is massive. A
Hmm.
mentor, a sponsor, a coach, a breathwork facilitator, whatever, somebody else. I like to say all the time, I'm not perfect. You can just ask my wife, but I've helped hundreds of thousands of people change their lives, right? So you
Hmm.
don't have to be perfect to help someone else. You can be a work in progress and a masterpiece at the same time. So I'm both. I'm somebody who's very imperfect. I admit my faults all the time. People are like, you're a breathwork teacher. Why are you getting so irritated? I'm like, because I'm having a fucking human experience out here with people in the world. And so that's but the emotions are appropriate for the situation now. They didn't used to be. I used to overreact,
Oh,
right? So
really?
I'm
Mhm.
current and I'm appropriate with my emotions. So finding somebody who's a little bit ahead of you, who can help you in a way, who I like to say is human and transparent, and it just depends on what you're going to connect with too. Somebody that you feel like you can take direction from.
Yeah. So you don't have any kind of, aside from teaching people, you don't have an ongoing membership, mentor kind of thing.
I don't want to do all that. I'm not looking to build a cult here. I have people who come to me and they'll do a session, private session, and they'll be like, I'm coming every week. I'm like, no, you're not. We're not doing this every week. You just go to the classes online and then do this course and you'll be great. I want to help millions of people on this planet. And so I want to be their introduction to breath.
Mhm.
And I want to create teachers. I really love to create other teachers who are out there helping people. I've certified over 3,000 people in my method of
Wow.
doing it, which is incredible. And I have the training. So I do them in person only twice a year in California. And then I have it online as well. So you could just do the training online and get a certification from me online. And people with coaching practices, yoga practices, therapists, or people who have never done any kind of like this work before will come and learn from me. And I feel like that's my gift, is everything I've done in my life has made me really good to be good at training other people to lead other people in this work.
And that's really good to know that about yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't want to use the word introspection, but I think it's a knowing of what where our strengths are is sometimes poo-pooed, right? We were talking about the years gone by, men were told to not cry and this and that, and you were told not to be the tall poppy, don't boast your skills out there. But knowing what you're good at, and then people can hear that and go, oh, wow, this guy really feels, I feel the authenticity coming off you when you say that.
Thank
And
you.
that's the kind of teacher or mentor or whatever that I resonate with.
To be honest, I didn't really want to do this work, but sometimes you have to let go of the idea of who you think you're supposed to be and let
Yeah.
go of some of your dreams to step into your destiny and do
Mm.
what you're really good at. And it helps people. It makes me feel fulfilled and gives me purpose. When I do a class, when I do a training, I am so lifted up. I am so filled up with love and joy and gratitude that I got to help all these people. I watch people in front of me change their lives,
Yeah.
and I played a part in that. And now they're going to go change somebody else's life. What other work am I going to do on the planet? I think people are overemphasizing happiness out in the world. If you're not happy all the time, something's wrong. No, happiness is an emotion that's going to come and go. But purpose, fulfillment, if you have something that gives you purpose, if you have something that fills you up, that's going to carry you whether you're happy or not. And
Mm.
I think that's the goal for me. So my goal is always, how many people on this planet, how many lives can I change on this planet? It's not the money. I make good money for what I do. I'm paid really well. But that's a byproduct of helping thousands of people change their lives. That's not the goal. Too many people out there are trying to make a ton of money, especially this younger generation. I need to get rich really fast or whatever. It's no, go help a bunch of people and then the money will just be there.
Yeah, it is an interesting dynamic. If for people who want to be of service, And maybe I'll be a coach, maybe I'll be a yoga instructor. Like you were saying, when you find that one thing, not only do you light others up, but it's like it just comes out of you. You're like pure joy, elation, feeling, and that's a connection to that person who's also getting the work done with you. But that's a great feeling. As a coach, I know that feeling. See somebody's face light up when they're finally getting something about themselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I think I kind of shocked people when I first got on the scene doing this work because I would show up at the class or whatever and I'd be like, all right, I just took the 405 to the 101 to the 10 freeway, the worst three freeways, and almost killed somebody in the parking lot over a space. But sit your ass down and I'm going to show you how to put gratitude and love in your heart. And they're like, holy shit, who is this guy? Because I think all the other teachers at the time were walking in the room and they were like, hey everybody, Mercury's in retrograde right now and we're all, and I'm like, what voice is that? What are you doing? And I was just like, I don't give a shit. I'm angry right now. I'm annoyed, but let's fucking do this breath work and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do the work,
Yeah.
and we're probably both going to feel better after this. Let's go.
So do you, when you do a class, I notice, I watched a replay, obviously, that you don't stay on the video for people that are watching the replay. Is that so that they won't get, they shouldn't be looking at you anyway.
Exactly.
They should be lying
So
down on the floor.
exactly. The first 10 minutes are me explaining the technique, the things that are going to happen to you physically, mentally, emotionally, doing two different demonstrations of the technique. And then I'm like, lay down, close your eyes. And then I turn off my camera because it's all audio from that point on. And yeah, you don't want to be looking at me on the screen. You need to close your eyes and breathe and go inside and do the technique. And then at the end, after the breath work's over, we do heart moments, we do all this stuff. After all that's over and you're laying there and you've been in this bliss state or whatever the state's been for you, I come back on and I do a Q&A at the end of the class.
Yeah. Yeah. And the class that I watched, you're very energized at the beginning. Let me just say that. And it's no BS. People just lay down and breathe. Would you stop? Don't do this kind of breathing. Don't do that kind of. This is how we're going to breathe. And then you demonstrate the breathing. And you're like, and don't try to do any other breathing. And don't think about the coffee that you're not drinking. And don't. It's great. But I'm from New York, so I
You
resonate
get
with
it.
this kind of thing. Totally.
Yeah, the breath work, like we were talking about, it's a little uncomfortable. It's a little hard. I feel like I was the first guy to be like, come on, let's go. Put my trainer, my own old personal trainer self into this.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go. I know it's hard. I know it's uncomfortable, but you can do this. You're not fucking delicate. You're powerful. Let's tap into that power. Everybody, when I started doing it, was kind of like, okay, keep breathing. You're doing great. It's okay if you need to take a break. And I was like, no, let's go. Right. And so I cannot tell you how many people over the last 15 years have told me, I tried breathwork before and it didn't really do anything. And then I did it with you and I had this life-changing experience. And I'm like, yeah, because I made you do the work. I made you go full out. I made you really do it. Or I pushed you enough. I can't make anybody do anything, but I pushed them enough. I inspired them. I motivated them enough to actually really go for it in the class and have an experience.
Yeah, and speaking about the one of the two experience or three experiences that I've had, it was in this woo, and I felt like if I wasn't having an experience that sounded like the person next to me lying on the floor, I wasn't doing it right. Because the person was walking around and there's more there, there's more, come on, oh, more what? Okay, I'll cry, I'll do it was,
Yeah.
but I liked your approach of just lie down and do the thing, right? There wasn't any coaching about whether you talk about crying, people cry or not, or they
Yeah.
wail or they don't. But I really felt like I was not doing it right because there was pressure to do this thing.
It's a great thing you hit on. I also say to people in the very start of my class, listen, if your friend dragged you here or someone made you come, you don't have to love this. If you hate it, that's actually pretty common if you hate it, but go for it all out. And then I'll say like a song or two in, give yourself permission to suck. You don't have to be good at this. You don't have to be like the best at it. Let yourself be terrible at it and just do it. Don't stop being a perfectionist and putting pressure on yourself. Just take a breath in through your mouth into your belly, a second breath into your chest, and let it go. And then let's do it again. And who gives a shit how it turns out? Let's go.
But we're conditioned to have, or not everybody is, but when we try something new, I think
Yeah.
for me, it's like I'm right back in high school where I'm going to suck at getting the basketball into the hoop, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
now I'm learning how to breathe again, and I'm going to suck at it. I don't know why it's that way, but
But you're not supposed to be good at something new.
right.
You,
But Yeah,
we put that pressure on ourselves. So
that's what
many
I
of us
mean.
are perfectionists out there, and we put that pressure on ourselves. But I'm saying that's not beneficial to you. It's not
No.
helping you, right? Really, I like to say work hard on yourself, but don't be hard on yourself.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's an expression I came up with because I'm like, okay, one of the things that I've learned in this journey is that I'm going to make mistakes. I'm never going to get to a place in my life where I stop making mistakes. I still make mistakes all the time, right?
Yeah.
Why don't I stop beating myself up for those mistakes? Because that's not benefiting me and it's not benefiting anyone around me. And I'm also modeling that for my children. Can I just be kind and loving to myself for my mistakes? Oh, I screwed up. All right, that's normal, that's human. Let's move on. And sometimes I've learned that some of these mistakes work out to be really well in my life.
Yeah,
Happy accidents, they call them.
exactly. And I love that you have two children. Do they do breath work?
Not the style that I teach in the class, but I've taught
Too
them
much
other.
for kids. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not appropriate, I think, under 14 years old. That's what I've seen. It's not, there's nothing there. But I taught them other techniques, really simple breathing techniques when you're upset or when you're worried or whatever. There's a really simple technique and this works for adults too because of the visualization aspect of it. I always say, pretend there's a chocolate cake in front of you and smell the chocolate cake and then blow out as many candles as you can. And that simple technique of a 4 second or so inhale through the nose down into your belly, and then a long exhale out your mouth, that puts you in your parasympathetic nervous system and actually calms your nervous system down. And if you
Hmm.
do that a few times, that will actually start to calm you down. You notice kids when they're upset and they're crying, they're like,
Yeah.
they're not breathing, right? And
Right,
if you
right.
can just get them to close their mouth and start
Yeah.
breathing through the nose, it calms them down.
There are a lot of medical shows that I've watched that I like, and The Pit being one that everybody's talking about now. But I've seen repeatedly where the doctor or the physician, the psychiatrist will say, just take a breath, look at me, breathe in through your nose. And I'm like, I love that they're telling people that in hospital situations, ERs or whatever, because
Yeah.
it truly does calm you right away.
Yeah.
You can't keep going if you're
It's the
breathing through
most
your nose.
incredible tool that we have that most people are not utilizing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be on a plane and we'll hit turbulence and I'll start just going, or, and it calms my nervous system down.
The
And
person
all
next
right.
to you is like, what the heck happened here? What is
Yeah,
he
I don't give a shit what the person next to me
doing?
thinks. That's the thing I've learned too is that they've done studies and the biggest regret people have at the end of their life is that they wish they didn't care so much about other people's opinions. They wish they
Mm,
didn't live so much for other people and do what they said. They wish they lived a life more true to themselves. And when you don't care what other people think, you can really do anything. It frees you up to do anything and to be whoever you want to be. And it's a much better life.
just keep getting older people and you will stop caring as much about what people think, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
easy to
know.
let it go. You've given us a lot of good stuff to think about, but what haven't I asked you that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Oh, I usually say the thing I just said, which is work hard on yourself, but don't be hard on yourself. Finding that self-love is the key. And most people think that the self-love is a bubble bath or the chocolate or whatever.
Yeah.
And I say, no, that's the reward for doing the hard work, doing the uncomfortable work.
Mm.
Self-love is really about showing up and doing the hard work or the uncomfortable work, whatever that is for you, whether that's going to the gym or going to a breathwork class or doing a therapy or a coaching session. Do that work first and then give yourself the reward.
Mm.
And stop being hard on yourself.
Exactly. Wise words. Thank you, Jon Paul Crimi, for being with me and for sharing all that great information. And
Thanks.
for just tell people your website. I'm sorry. I'll put it at
Oh
the
yeah,
top of
no
the show
worries.
notes, but
It's Breathe with JP, Breathewith JP, not breath with JP, breathewithjp.com. And you can find my classes there and my trainings and my link to my other website where I have my online courses. And so all that stuff is there, or you can just put in my name, Jon Paul Crimi, JonPaulCrimi, into Google and a million things will come up.
a million.
A
Wow.
lot, a lot, a lot of stuff will come up. There's 10 pages of
Oh
things.
my goodness. And
Yeah.
you have good testimonials there for people that have worked with you.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah. Anyway, again, pleasure having you. People, I'll be back next week with another fabulous guest. Until then, I hope you'll all be well.